Welcome, champions. Fight until you fall. Until You Fall is an arcade rogue-lite VR sword fighting game by Schell games, developers of the critically acclaimed I Expect You to Die. Rokar has fallen, and you, as the only remaining rune knight, are the last hope to fight back the horrors that were spawned by the calamity. Guided by the mysterious runesmiths, you fight your way through the neon forests until you fall and rise again. So this game is a roguelite, meaning that you will embark on a run that is somewhat randomized until you die, and then you will start over. In each run you will earn a meta currency that is called Aether, which you use for permanent upgrades. Each run will challenge you with a series of combat encounters. When you clear all enemies in a room, you get to pick one of 3 randomized upgrades, which can either be Aether or upgrades to your weapons or character, like a higher combo limit or more health, which is a currency in itself, as powerful weapon upgrades come with a cost of maximum health. The upgrades you get from the encounter rewards are not crazy. This is not Binding of Isaac, where certain item combinations can completely change your run or downright break the game. Instead, the build of power is steady and incremental. The downside to this is that every run will feel very similar, but it also means that you are more in control. This is more about skill than about RNG. Between runs you end up in the Rune Forge. Here you can unlock and upgrade weapons with Aether. Each weapon has specific perks and a super ability that you charge by hitting enemies and blocking attacks. Weapons are balanced between raw damage, reach, handling, offensive or defensive capabilities and tactical usability. You can mix and match weapons to customize your playstyle. The permanent upgrades to your weapons are very similar to the encounter rewards. They are also small, incremental changes. This progression system is supposed to give you an edge. When I started a fresh save to record footage for this video, I was genuinely surprised how far I got with only the base starter weapons. So progression in this game is mainly learning the mechanics, learning attack patterns of enemies, figuring out tactics to deal with certain enemy combinations, and a little bit of weapon upgrades sprinkled in. In each encounter you will have to juggle several combat mechanics. When striking enemies, wider swings will deal more damage. There's this adorable warning when you boot up the game to be mindful of your surroundings. You should take heed of that, I can tell you from experience. You block by holding either weapon to the indicated location, you dodge by dodging IRL in the indicated direction. Every enemy basically has 2 phases. You inflict guard damage by striking the enemies or blocking attacks. When the white guard bar is down, you have a chance to deal health damage by hitting the combo markers in the right direction until you reach your combo limit or you fail to hit the marker in time. When the enemy is still alive after that, the guard bar will refill and you are back at phase 1. Harder enemies will have several health bars and take quite a while to whittle down. There are only a couple of enemy types in the game, but they all have different attacks and behaviors that will force you to adapt your playstyle and tactics depending on the combination of enemies you are dealing with at a given time. In itself, every enemy is easy to deal with, but when the game throws more and more enemies at you at the same time, it will get hectic. A usual tactic they employ is stepping back when the guard is broken and let others take their place until their guard meter is refilled. As a player, you cannot let that happen. You have to stay mobile and use your supers to get a tactical advantage. The boss battles will throw every mechanic at you that you had to deal with during the run, plus some AoE attacks you need to dash out of. They are not bad and can get pretty intense, but they are also nothing remarkable. The game uses a combination of smooth movement and a dash, whereas the dash is not only a movement option but also a combat mechanic. Dashing into an enemy inflicts damage and stagger, but you only have 3 charges on a cooldown. So the combat in this game looks like a bunch of quick time events, right? And it is to a degree. Until you realize how important game sense, movement, positioning and tactics are. The combat has simple mechanics but is deceptively deep in strategy. The most important thing though is, it's fun. It's just so much fun. I play on a Valve Index and I gotta say a good part of my enjoyment of this game stems from how well they made use of the Index controllers. You summon your weapons by employing a tight grip on the controller and stow it by letting loose. You can change that to a toggle in the options, but I really like the feeling of having to hold on to the sword to keep it in my hand. That is how it should feel, right? The best thing about the game though is choosing your post-encounter reward. You grab an upgrade with your hand to see the details. When it is a weapon specific upgrade, the information specified is only for the corresponding weapon of the hand you grabbed it with, so make sure to check with both hands. To select an upgrade, you squeeze it very hard until its empowering contents engulfs your body. It is not technically necessary to reach until the sky and to make an ecstatic uttering of victory while crushing the upgrade note in your fist. Yeah. But it is highly recommended. The game has a distinctly stylized look. The surroundings are not very detailed and don't look too close at the textures, but these are things I don't mind too much. The overall aesthetic and color palette of the Neon Forest is just striking. It looks good, man. It just looks good. What the environment lacks in detail, the game makes up in weapon and enemy design, which are exceptional. When developers cut some corners in graphical fidelity to make the game run smoother, that's fine in my book. While in the heat of battle you won't notice the environment anyway, but what you will perceive in every part of the game is the music. The synthwave soundtrack is just banger, and it enhances a near perfect gameplay experience to an even higher degree. It is available on Spotify, by the way, and for download in lossless quality for free on Steam, even if you don't own the game. I mean, everybody likes synthwave, right? And these are some stellar tracks. There's no storyline or narrative, but there's lore and world building that is presented to you on your first run by the runesmith, whose voice acting is exceptional, by the way.
Now you see why I have restored you. Rokar is no more. Should that creature continue unabated, its corruption will unravel reality. When you are ready, return to the surface and destroy that creature.
The game is very careful not to repeat the lore dumps on consecutive runs to avoid overexposure and repetitiveness. It is details like this that make you realize how polished it is. Your playtime will depend on how much you get invested. A complete run will take 40 minutes or so, but you will do many a run until you have beaten the game. Someday I will beat it on Nightmare difficulty, but not anytime soon. So I get back to the game now and then to try my luck with another run, and will continue to do so for a while, I guess. If that is not enough for you, there are some pretty challenging achievements to pursue. So yeah, you can dump plenty of hours into Until You Fall, and it costs like €20 at full price. It's ridiculous. It is available on all platforms, so there really is no excuse not to get it. If I were forced to create a top 5 list of must-have VR games, Until You Fall would make that list, no questions asked. So Schell Games, if you were to create a DLC with a new environment, some new enemies with maybe 1 or 2 new combat mechanics and a few more tracks to the soundtracks, I would buy that instantly. Just saying. What are your top 5 must-have VR games? Tell me in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like, and if you are interested in more VR reviews like this one, consider subscribing. See you next time.